Today on The Gold Standard.
I would urge people to not invest based on hope, hoping that things turn around quickly for stocks and bonds, because they're not. We have a long way to go, and this is going to have to play out for a while. We've seen so much printing and so much debt. It's going to take a while for this to all kind of play out, and we're going to have to get real ugly, and things are going to have to implode first.
This is The Gold Standard from Midas Gold Group with Kenneth Russo. Hello, I'm Dave Dino. Welcome to The Gold Standard, your source for secure investment opinion and information on the advantages of purchasing and owning precious metals. Whether you're a novice investor or an experienced collector, this is the program that gives you a realistic weekly perspective on the state of the economy, reliable information about using precious metals such as gold, silver, and platinum to safeguard your wealth, and remarkable details about specific precious metal coins and bullion. Ken Russo is a senior vice president at Midas Gold Group, and his peers characterize him as a straight shooter who will work harder for you than anyone else. Hey, Ken, welcome.
Hey, Dave. Nice to talk to you again.
It's great to get together with you here on this New Year's weekend and to take a look not only backwards, but to take, I think, an anticipatory look forward as well. Our topic today is a secure start to the new year. But let's begin with that look back that I mentioned, that look back at 2022 and the events that shaped our national and our personal finances. We have several things to cover. I wonder if you would comment on them for me. Number one, the national debt.
Yeah, Dave. I mean, we hear the number all the time of 31.4 or $32 trillion, right? Which is supposedly the national debt, but it keeps growing. I mean, I turned on the television this morning and they were talking about more spending for budgets and trillions of dollars more. So it's more of the same, but what's really important is that unfunded liabilities that the United States have that we never really talk about when it comes to debt. Unfunded liabilities of the United States is probably close to $250 trillion, believe it or not. When you think about Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, defense expenditures, these are what they would call off the book entries, Dave. So it's kind of sneaky accounting. We never hear the full picture, but the debt picture and the national debt is a lot worse than people would think.
I wish I could do the same with my credit cards, just kind of take them off the book as
Right.
unfunded liabilities.
That's exactly right. Well, it's a bunch of games that are going out there. Remember, folks, we're talking about how these games affect our money and how we can protect ourselves from being ruined when these games fall apart.
What happened in 2022 as regards inflation?
Well, we've experienced inflation for years, Dave, but I think this year people really started to realize what's really going on with our money, and you just can't print paper money out of thin air and expect to have a strong dollar. You print trillions and trillions of dollars out of thin air, backed by nothing. Monopoly money. What do you expect? I mean, so you have the government spending at record historical paces. We are printing money at exponential levels, tens of trillions of dollars. There's loads of countries that are just doing the same thing. And inflation is at an all-time high, pretty much. And then they lie. And then they lie about, well, there's no inflation. This is all transitory. It's going away. So, folks, don't believe the lies. This is not going away. We saw here in 2022 historical inflation numbers, but I just think it's people realizing a little bit more of what's going on and the system, which is addicted to debt and money printing, Dave. It's just spiraling out of control. So we're starting to see them losing the banking system, losing the grip, and the Federal Reserve losing the grip, and the central banks of what's going on. The parties coming to an end, the printing party, but there's going to be tens of trillions of dollars more printed before all of this falls apart. And remember, folks, how could we not be financially destroyed when all of this falls apart? And we're reaching some sort of a tipping point, and I think we're very close, Dave.
Ken, all of that printing of money, all of that additional debt, what does that do to the value of the dollar bill that's in my wallet?
Well, it continues to buy less, right, Dave?
Mm.
Fiat money all the way back from 1913 when the Fed was formed, and then 1933 when there was their executive orders for people to turn in their gold. They threatened to arrest people or throw them in jail if they held their gold. They needed the gold to print more money. 1971, President Nixon took us totally off of the gold standard, and now our dollar's backed by nothing. So when you have a world of fiat money, it always buys less. My son told me a couple weeks ago he used to buy the same McDonald's value meal for $7. It was $7 for years, and all of a sudden now it's over $12.
Wow.
And he couldn't figure out why that is. There's not more food in the value meal. Why is that? Well, our dollar is always going to buy less. That's how they steal from us, through inflation and through the devaluation of our currency. And that's what inflation is, actually, Dave. It's the devaluation of our currency. And when you print and print and print, and when you take out so much debt and spend like drunken sailors, the value of our currency, who knows over the next few years, but it could buy a lot less than it buys today. It could almost be worthless. And what could we do to protect ourselves? What could we hold on to as money that will always have value and typically holds our purchasing power? And that's what gold does, Dave.
You're listening to The Gold Standard with Ken Russo from Midas Gold Group, and today our topic is a secure start to the new year. And we're looking back at a not very secure 2022. One last look back, Ken. We are hearing more and more voices talking about the very real possibility of a recession in 2023. Some are forecasting a very deep recession, right?
Well, I just think if you look at what's going on out there, Dave, we're having interest rates that are being increased. Every pundit on television, it's comical, just turn it on and they're all, oh, well, the Federal Reserve is probably almost done raising rates. I think mortgage rates have probably doubled in the last few months. And,
Yep.
of course, that's going to tighten people's wallets. And not to mention, look at all of the layoffs that are going on, especially with the technology companies. You have companies like Amazon that laid off over 10,000 people. Carvana, which is probably going to go bankrupt the way that the stock's trading, which is a used car company. They're laying off over 8% of their workforce. I read a article the other day that Goldman Sachs gave some of their employees a nice little Christmas surprise, saying that they're going to lay off close to 10% of their workforce.
Wow.
Starting next year. Hewlett Packard's laying off thousands of people. Cisco Systems is laying off 5% of their workforce. Facebook is laying off 13% of their workforce. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on with people. I can't imagine how this is going to bode well for the economy. If think about it, higher interest rates, lower earnings for these corporations, the inability to borrow money at zero interest or even negative interest rates in some cases, which has fueled this market over the last few years and created an even bigger bubble. I would have a hard time understanding how we wouldn't go into a recession. We probably already are. Who cares what the definition is, right, Dave? I mean, when you have asset prices like stocks and bonds and real estate, which are all going in the wrong direction, and when you have people having to pay higher prices for food, 20, 30, 40% higher prices for food and utilities and everything else. And then you have people being laid off, dipping into savings. I read an article that a lot of people are starting to build up their credit card balances again. I mean, I think we could all see, Dave, and people where we're headed. And it's not a rosy situation, to say the least.
Ken, let's get to some good news. In the midst of these events that have attacked the value of the dollar and the dollar being undermined by inflationary higher prices, how did gold fare in this past year?
Well, surprisingly, Dave, when people have lost 20 or 30% on their stocks and bonds, gold has held its own. And, it may actually finish the year up with a positive return. So the banking sector and the criminal cartel of what we call the banking industry has purposely suppressed the price of gold, Dave, over the last couple of years, because, I mean, people are really going to freak out when gold is $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 per ounce. And they realize, Dave, that their paper money is just dwindling and decaying. And obviously the government is doing whatever they can to keep people in the banking system, to keep people invested in the dollar. They don't want people to all go to the bank, pull their dollars out and buy gold. But when they start to see the price of gold, and when they lose this grip on manipulation of the gold and the silver price, which is obvious, they've been manipulating it for years, but especially over the last year or two, and as they've told everybody that inflation is transitory and economy strong, and we're doing exactly all the things right. President Biden keeps touting all of the great things that he's done. I mean, are these people delusional? But the fact of the matter is that gold has held its own. Gold has been money for thousands of years, all the way back to the Roman Empire. And there is a very strong case, Dave, that gold will explode in price over the next few years because our dollar is going to implode and lose tremendous value. And on the other side, gold will reflect that lost value in our dollar, and it will be a higher price for gold. So that's what I see happening. That's what's always happened. Gold is real money. It's a store of value. It's a medium of exchange. It's something that you know you have. It will always be there when you need it. And in such a volatile, reckless, money printing, crazy, debt ridden environment and a debt ridden system, you have to have something strong. So gold right now is a must, in my opinion, for every single American right now to consider to be diversified and hold a substantial amount of your paper assets and convert them into gold.
Here's a question I've asked you before, but I think it bears repeating. Moving large amounts of wealth from one investment account to a new gold IRA account, that can be scary for some who have never done so before. What assurance can you give as to the accuracy of the procedure that you help us with and as to the trustworthiness of Midas Gold Group?
Well, it's an important question, Dave, and it's an awful experience and scary to also be waking up every morning and to see your nest egg dwindling in stocks and in bonds and in the dollar as well. It's not a good scenario either. So I think that just like having a good doctor or a good plumber or a good accountant, I think in this particular scenario or this environment, we need to have a trusted source for gold and a trusted source for silver. And one of the big advantages that people have to come and meet us is you don't really get the opportunity to sit down with a gold and silver dealer where if you wanted to move a substantial amount of your net worth into gold and silver, there's not really that opportunity. You may have, a coin shop here or there where you can walk in and they might have a couple of coins there or a bar or so, but it's
Yeah, but
nothing meaningful.
they
So
charge a lot of money for those too, though, at coin shops.
yeah, and I mean, and the ability to diversify is not there. So
Hmm.
what we're not comparing apples to apples.
Hmm.
So we're kind of a hybrid where we could offer people personal attention, but we also have the ability to diversify hundreds or millions of dollars worth of a nest egg at any one particular time. And that's how we've built our reputation. We're the nation's number one veteran-owned gold and silver dealer in the country. We're constantly talked about on a lot of the major conservative radio stations. We have our own show. All of these things provide for the legitimacy of Midas Gold Group. But I would just encourage people to start a conversation. We will invest our time into them, Dave, and through our conversations and through our patience and through our education of gold and money and silver, I'm sure people could make their own decision and come up with the best possible scenario to diversify for them and their family. So once again, they can survive when all of this kind of falls apart financially. They won't be ruined. And that's what the role of gold has done for thousands of years, more importantly, Dave.
A reminder here that you're listening to The Gold Standard with Ken Russo from Midas Gold Group, and today our topic is a secure start to the new year. In a few moments, we're going to take a look at a specific gold product that you can add to secure your wealth, and that's coming up right after this.
Looking ahead, you don't want to get several months into the new year and say, I wish I would have after a stock market meltdown. Sebastian Gorka here. You can start the year by securing the value of your cash reserves and investments, guarding them against what many are predicting will be a brutal year for the value of the dollar and a stock market meltdown. The economic signs are worrisome. I recommend calling Midas Gold Group to safeguard your wealth with the stability of gold. Gold holds its value when economies fail, with stocks and bonds crashing over 20% in 2022, gold has held its value. Those who converted to gold with Midas Gold Group created a hedge against the ravages of inflation. Go to MidasGoldGroup.com or better yet, call 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-GOLD. It's gold you can hold. Call right now, 855-322-GOLD, or go to MidasGoldGroup.com.
And we're back with more of the Gold Standard brought to you by Midas Gold Group with Ken Russo. I'm Dave Dino, and our topic today is a secure start to the new year, and wouldn't we all like to have that? By the way, if you live in the Los Angeles or Phoenix area, we encourage you to do what Ken just mentioned, and that is come and actually visit us at our local office to meet with us in person. For the address and directions, just log on to our website, MidasGoldGroup.com, M-I-D-A-S, MidasGoldGroup.com. And for those of you listening in other cities, call us directly at 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD. By the numbers, that's 855-322-4653. Now, let's treat ourselves by looking at a specific gold product, and this is one from our good neighbor to the north, the gold Canadian maple leaf. Ken, what impresses you about this particular gold coin?
Well, the guy who runs the Prime Minister of Canada is a real weasel, but I really love this coin, Dave. I really do. It's one of my favorites. It's 24 carats pure gold, 0.9999 fine gold. The gold 1 ounce Canadian maple leaf represents a pristine opportunity, Dave, for people who are looking to diversify in gold and in a product that will appreciate dramatically if the gold price does well over the next few years, which we do expect.
Ken, when we get together like this, I always envy the fact that you can actually hold the gold coin that we're talking about. Can you describe this one for us?
Yeah, and in our opinion, Dave, of course, the only way to own gold is gold you could hold, not in any other form. So the standard version of the gold maple leaf weighs a little over 1 troy ounce. It's 9999 purity. It has reeded edges. It sports a sparkling, radiant shimmer. The gold color of the gold maple leaf is kind of really distinct to all the other gold coins. Really, really a beautiful shine to it. It qualifies as legal tender in Canada, Dave, with a face value of 50 Canadian dollars, but obviously it's worth closer to 40 times that amount as it's based on the weight and the purity of the gold itself. The obverse or the head side depicts Queen Elizabeth II. For the time being, obviously that's going to be changed to King Charles, more than likely next year. The reverse side features the iconic Canadian maple leaf, which is the national symbol of Canada, a real sharp maple leaf, Dave. It's one of my favorite symbols when it comes to coins. It just kind of pops out, especially the newer maple leafs versus the old ones. Really, really a sharp coin. And one more feature, Dave, the Canadian Mint is at the forefront of innovative security measures. So these coins feature micro-inscribed radial lines on both sides to discourage counterfeiting. It's a really high quality coin, Dave. Should be at the top of any list when people are considering what gold products to use for diversification and as a hedge. The gold 1 ounce maple leaf, Dave, is a coin that investors could always go to for all of the benefits that gold offers.
You're listening to the Gold Standard with Ken Russo from Midas Gold Group, and today our topic is a secure start to the new year. One more question, Ken, on this particular coin. Is it IRA eligible?
It is, yes, in 1 ounce, quarter ounce, half ounce, and tenth of an ounce coins. It is a bullion coin, and it is IRA eligible.
Today, our topic is a secure start to the new year, and we're going to continue with this topic in just a moment.
2023 is going to be a year of economic upheaval, according to many economists. Sebastian Gorka here. Financial experts are warning of massive layoffs and huge stock market losses, which is why I recommend calling Midas Gold Group to safeguard your wealth with the stability of gold while you can. Gold holds its value when economies fail. Go to MidasGoldGroup.com, or better yet, call 855-322-GOLD. It's gold you can hold. Call 855-322-GOLD.
And we continue now with the Gold Standard, brought to you by Midas Gold Group with Ken Russo. I'm Dave Dino. If you live in the Los Angeles or Phoenix area, you can actually come and visit our local office and meet with us in person. For the address and the directions, just log on to our website, MidasGoldGroup.com, M-I-D-A-S, MidasGoldGroup.com. For those of you listening in other cities, call us directly at 855-322-GOLD. 855-322-GOLD. By the numbers 855-322-4653. Our topic again is a secure start to the new year. We're talking with Ken Russo, Senior Vice President at Midas Gold Group. And Ken, 2022 was a rocky year financially for both our country and individual investors. But let's take a look ahead to the new year and getting a good start at protecting our wealth. Part of that is setting up a good system of preserving our wealth. Many of our listeners have thought about moving a portion of their wealth into gold, but they've not yet made the call to you to start the process. What happens when they do make that call? How do you work with them?
Well, first of all, Dave, I would urge people to not invest based on hope, hoping that things turn around quickly for stocks and bonds, because they're not. We have a long way to go, and this is going to have to play out for a while. We've seen so much printing and so much debt. It's going to take a while for this to all kind of play out, and we're going to have to get real ugly, and things are going to have to implode first. But I also want to point out the fact that 2022, Dave, was the year where we introduced the Fed with the digital dollar pilot program. So our money is moving to a digital format, and that's all about control and surveillance. And we've talked about that before. And when they reset this system, what's our money really going to be worth? No one's really going to know. And I'm very, very surprised about these cryptocurrency platforms where the money's just disappearing. And it almost tends for me to believe, are they telling people that, oh, your money can disappear? Or are they conditioning people to understand that their money is just gone and that's the way it goes? And, oh, well, I don't know. But when we speak to our clients, we work with them personally on a one-to-one basis. Everybody has a different sort of situation that they have to address, different ages, different size IRAs, different size of savings, maybe different number of beneficiaries. So everyone's a little different. We kind of take that into consideration, and it's important, but we don't treat people like sheep. A lot of individual attention, a lot of time, a lot of hard work, but that's what makes a good business, and that's what makes a good relationship. So I would just urge people to not be afraid of owning gold and diversifying. I would tell them that they have more to worry about if they weren't diversified. I would tell them that they have more to worry about if they're not protected and not pulling some of their money out of the system or not pulling some of their money out of the bank. In my opinion, that's a lot worse of a situation than taking some of your assets and moving it to something that's had value for thousands of years. It's been money all the way back for 3,000 years. It's always had value, Dave, and I would just urge people to think about it that way, not really to worry too much about the process. That's what our specialty is, and I would just urge people to have an urgency to try and get some money out of paper and out of this market while they still can, because all of these things that we're talking about means that the hourglass, Dave, is tipped. And the amount of time that we have to do this is becoming less and less. And I would just tell people that one day we could just wake up and we may not have access to any of our money and we may be stuck. But for people who own gold, they're never going to be stuck. They're always going to have options. And in this particular market, to have that safety net is extremely, extremely important.
And that is going to bring us, unfortunately, because this has been so amazing today, it brings us to the end of our time together here on the Gold Standard with Ken Russo, brought to you by Midas Gold Group. A reminder, opinions given here are not intended to be specific to your investment strategy, but rather general information to give you a better understanding of investing in precious metals. For answers to your questions, call the Midas Gold Group at 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD. By the numbers 855-322-4653. And the website is MidasGoldGroup.com, M-I-D-A-S, MidasGoldGroup.com. The Midas Gold Group is proud to be America's #1 veteran-owned gold dealer, supporting veterans' causes with a portion of profits donated to the Wounded Warriors Project and the Semper Fi Fund. So your investment in your future is also an investment in the future of those who have bravely served the cause of freedom. Again, the number to call to speak directly with Midas Gold Group is 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD. Ken, thank you so much for your time again here today.
My pleasure, Dave. It's going to be a golden year in 2023.
Yes, indeed. And we wish that for each and every person listening, that they have a wonderful new year, a golden new year. I'm Dave Dino. Come and join us again next week at the same time for another edition of The Gold Standard.
The Gold Standard was brought to you by the Midas Gold Group.